Hello and welcome to this episode of Collab with Kiva. I am your host, Kiva Slade. Yes, I am recovering from some illness, but I wanted to go ahead and record and keep things going. So forgive me for my sultry, gravelly voice. So today I want to talk to you about onboarding new remote team members. And I always feel that this is an important conversation to have on the side of the company as well as on the side of those who are applying for positions. And I'm seeing this in two different spaces right now because one of my clients is in the midst of hiring. Another of my clients has 10 full-time employees, and we're in the midst of onboarding a full-service HR firm. And both of them have different but similar challenges when it comes to onboarding and onboarding people well. So let's go ahead and just dive in with the importance of onboarding remote team members. It's important for you to develop a structure for onboarding. Whether your people are coming in and an HR firm is going to handle that, or you have a director of operations at OBM, or you yourself as a business owner is handling that, because that is the third one. I just recently onboarded a new team member. And so in all of those scenarios, research shows like a good onboarding experience improves that team member's retention and productivity. So thinking through what that onboarding process needs to look like, where you're giving enough information and guiding them through you and your business, but you aren't overloading them and necessarily sending them bad vibes about everything that's going on in your business. Not saying that you should hide things, but if your onboarding is structured, you definitely will feel less chaotic in that process. So really make sure that you are seeking to have a process to that, like a 5-day process, so that it's a gentle onboarding that takes place where day 1 is filling out any remaining paperwork. Day 2 is like access to tools and introducing them to the rest of the team and things of that sort. Day 3, they start reviewing SOPs. They start reviewing or getting familiar with you and your business. Day 4, really starting to dive even deeper into some of the things that you will have them to do, as well as making sure that they understand where they can find information in your business. Are things located in your Google Drive? Are they in Dropbox? Where are they? Do they have access to all of those necessary points of entry? Also, day 5, are you ready to touch base and make sure that they have what they need to be successful going into that next week of that onboarding? And also anything else that they stand in need of. What questions do they have that they may not have had during that initial get to know you conversation, but as they've dived a little deeper into stuff, they might have questions now that they need to circle back with you. Do you make yourself available, or someone on your team that's available to answer those questions for them? So again, definitely important to have a well-structured onboarding process. Some best practices is really starting onboarding before the first day. It's not like you just show up and, hey, it's onboarding time. No, let's set the mood. Let's get everybody in the mood. So send a welcome email to new team members, employees, that includes information on when they should expect anything, the agenda for like that first day a week, any links to join in on video conferences. Maybe you have a video about you and your business, links to that so they can go ahead and absorb that information beforehand. Second, have that clear onboarding plan. If you've already given them their key results, so they have goals, they have timelines, expectations for you and for them as to what is expected. Clear understanding of company culture and values. We always talk about mission, vision, and values, so critical when onboarding team members. Schedule those regular check ins. Make sure they get scheduled ahead of time because let me tell you, once everybody gets going, they're going. They're not necessarily focused on, let's have those check ins. And then things can get too far out in the weeds and feel like a lot to bring back when if you had the regular check ins, it wouldn't feel that way. Also, facilitate introductions, like help them build relationships with others on the team. If they are in your business and they're client facing, make sure you've introduced them to your client's team and they know what to expect there. So make sure you facilitate those introductions. And again, as we talked about those kind of best tips and practices, it's also important to talk about pitfalls to avoid when onboarding, because a failure to set clear expectations for them, for you, it definitely is a recipe for disaster. Sorry, I needed to get some tea in. Well, it's actually not even tea, it's hot water, honey, and lemon. So, setting expectations so that they are so clear on what their understanding of the role, responsibilities, and those goals. And again, if you shared that on the front end, then it makes it like they already come into that first bit of onboarding with having absorbed that and written out any questions that they may have. Don't ignore your company culture. Introduce your team members to your company culture, your values, and not along the lines of, oh, everyone's not a culture fit and things of that sort, but really understanding what takes place in your business. On one of the teams I'm on, we do such a good job, the team tells us, of keeping in touch and facilitating fun little conversations and get to know you moments, especially for a virtual team. And shout out to my friend Becky Bruner, and she is with Choose Happy Assisting, but she literally has a toolkit that you get monthly to help you facilitate team collaboration, connectivity, and it's just wonderful. And so this one team, the team tells us they love this. They don't want this to stop. Like today we talked about Taylor Swift's song, I Can Buy Myself Flowers, and the question is like, do you buy yourself flowers? When was the last time you did that? And people were like, oh my gosh, I love this question. I just brought this. Oh, this inspired me. I just brought this. Hey, do plants count? I brought these. We talk about recipes, all kinds of hootenanny, if I'm honest. But those questions really allow each other to see a bit more of what goes on in our lives outside of that part that they see that we bring to work. So don't ignore your company culture. Make sure people feel a part of the team. If you have some water cooler, section of Slack or your PM tool, make sure they are involved in that. Make sure you share those things with them. Also, neglecting to communicate, huge pitfall. Communication is so critical when it comes to remote work. Let's be honest. We can't walk down the hall to someone's cubicle and say, hey, Jane, what's up, girl? I got a question about that memo you sent. Like, we can't do that. We don't have that in our virtual existence. So making sure there is communication is so vitally important. You want to have, again, those regular check-ins, whether it's team meetings, open door policy via Slack, email, Voxer, ClickUp, Asana, like whatever it is that works for your business. Make sure these new folks know that, and remind the old folks too, who may have forgotten about those things. And the last pitfall to avoid is overloading new employees. Dudes, we get it. You brought them on because you got stuff that needs to get done. However, wait, honey break. However, even in that need, desire for things to get done, you do not want to overload them with too much information or too many tasks. It's like, dude, they just got here and you're like, bam, on their virtual desk, you're dropping like 5 piles of stuff. And it's like, yeah, I'm gonna need you to tackle that and make that work. You gonna leave, they gonna leave, they gonna leave, they gonna leave you. And you don't want them to leave you. So don't overload new employees, new team members. Just don't do it. Again, like a gentle onboarding, and not like gentle to, hey, I gave you 5 days and now I'm going to drop you into the fire. No, like literally plan out what's going to be done. What's the most urgent things, okay? That also they don't need to have a ton of back and forth with you about. So do not overload those new people. It is a recipe for disaster for you, for them, for everyone. And also, I think that when it comes to onboarding new team members, that things that you think make sense within the organization, maybe your SOPs or something of that, give them carte blanche to ask questions, to question the SOP, to question how something is done. The questions are not offensive, and you shouldn't become defensive with them. The questions are there in many cases. You might have explained something in a way that made sense to you because you're doing it all the time, and may not realize you've missed a whole critical step, 2 or 3 or 4. So allow that freedom, that carte blanche to say, hey, I have a question about this. This part here isn't making a lot of sense to me. Could you tell me more about this? Let them know that that is okay. Let them know that SOPs are living, breathing documents. They are designed to change. They will change sometimes when you bring on new people, and you might have different ways of doing things. You might use different software than the last time you updated that sucker. So allow for questions, foster questions, encourage questions. Do not be offended by questions. Also realize that's how some of your people learn. If you haven't taken the time to know their Kolbe or their strength finders or things of that sort, you need to get ready. Like, this is going to be wonky. It's going to be bumpy. It's going to feel funky at times. Express that in that communication so both sides are aware. No one is expecting this to cut through like a warm knife through a stick of butter. That's not going to happen. It's going to feel, even with your most well-structured onboarding plan, it's going to feel funky. It's going to feel janky, and that is okay. That is okay. Learn from it, tweak for the next onboarding person or team member, and update the process for them. It's still going to have some funkiness to it. It's never going to be perfect. So don't look for perfection. Look to do the best that you can in that onboarding. Be as comprehensive as possible. Be as open as possible to questions. And just be willing to be available. That is so critically important. So, as you look to whether onboard for your own team, onboard for a client's team, or partner with an HR firm, they still have to know your culture. They have to know your values. They have to know the things that make your organization your organization. So don't neglect those just because you're not the one handling the onboarding process. It's still critically important that they understand who you are, who your organization is, and what you do, and so that they see themselves being a part of this. There's that buy-in. So I hope that this was definitely helpful for everyone. Remember, a good onboarding experience improves retention as well as productivity, which we are always winners of for. Start your onboarding before day one. Give them clear onboarding plan. Let them know ahead of time what to expect. Schedule those regular check-ins. Facilitate introductions. Set your remote team members up for success, because you setting them up for success sets you and your business up for success. And don't forget to avoid those pitfalls of not setting clear expectations, ignoring your company culture, neglecting to communicate, and overloading them with too much stuff. So I wish you all the best in your onboarding process. If you have some other tips to share, definitely reach out. I'd love to hear them. Thanks, and tune in next time. Bye.